Hey, Mexico team, this is Mr. Bishop. Just wanted to reach out to you guys and say hi and give you a little update as to what's happening and during this time. I know it's been an interesting time. Lots of things have changed, and if you're anything like me, yesterday and today it's been a little bit sad. Yesterday is usually that day of anticipation. You're packing in those last things and hardly getting any sleep because you're so excited to come to Howardsville in the middle of the night. And then we frantically pack last things in the suitcases and then make our way to Mexico, running through airports or whatever it may be. And then just that excitement when we get there. And even this morning, when I woke up, just a little bit of disappointment, sadness, knowing that our plans that we had made just aren't going to come to fruition at this time. And just that disappointment can really settle in if you let it. But I want to encourage you guys this morning, share a few things with you, and hopefully we can gain some perspective from it all. We know that God's in control. And in Isaiah 55, it says, "For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, declares the Lord. For as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts higher than your thoughts." We know that God's in control of this. We know that nothing is outside of his control. And although we make plans, sometimes those change. And during these times of disappointment and hardships, we have to remember that God is in control and that he is sovereign and that his ways are higher than ours sometimes, even when we don't understand things. And I want to share just a couple of points with you, too, from an article I read recently from Desiring God. Just a couple of ways that perhaps we can gain some perspective from all of this. And 3 points I want to share with you. And it has to do with just the idea of remembering what God has done in the past. Remembering his faithfulness in our lives will help us during times of uncertainty and times where we just don't really know what to think for the future. I've been really praying for this trip, that if it's God's will, we can still make it happen later down the road. But in the meantime, it's certainly tough. We want to be in Mexico. We want to be serving him there. And it just feels like we're just stuck at home right now and not being able to see our friends, not being able to be at school, doing the things that we typically would do. And in this article, it talks about the idea of God knows that we are forgetful, so he gives us memorials. And a couple of points I want to mention with that is how can we remember what God has done for us so that we can, in the past, so that we can apply that to our lives now. And number one, the first point is, they all start with T, and the first one is think. It says, what are some events that you can look back on as a pile of stones marking a defining moment for you? A moment when God showed his power in your life, when he was guiding you in a very clear way, when he answered a prayer or fulfilled a promise. And then Psalm 77:12 says, "I will ponder all your work and meditate on your mighty deeds." I think for this idea of think, for those of you that have gone on the trip, we can think back to those times where we have served in Mexico. We can remember just vividly these events that we took a part in and how God really taught us something there. For those that haven't gone on this trip, obviously, maybe if you've gone on a mission trip before, or maybe you've served God in your church or whatever it may be, we can think back on those times in our lives where we really felt the Lord's presence. And even in situations in our lives here where God really manifested himself in a way that was mighty, only that he could, and did just miraculous things for us. And so it's good to think about these things, remember them. Number two was to thank. So the first one was think, the second one was thank. It says, engage your heart in gratitude for what he has done. And then Psalm 9 verse 1 says, "I will give thanks to the Lord with my whole heart. I will recount all of your wonderful deeds." So after that step of thinking about what God has done for us, we can turn that into praise. We can thank him for those opportunities, those moments that he's given to us that only can come from him. And then the last one was tell. So we had think, thank, and lastly tell. It says, once we spent time remembering and thanking the Lord for the great things he has done for us, the joy of those memories should overflow in our conversations with those around us. In Joshua 4, we find this instruction specifically. When your children ask their fathers in times to come, what do these stones mean? Then you shall let your children know. Israel passed over this Jordan on dry ground. And that verse is talking about when the Lord made it possible for the Israelites to cross the Jordan River, which is a very tough river to cross. And it was a miracle that they were able to do this. But Joshua knows and knew, and more specifically, God knew that we are human and we easily forget things. And so after that event happened, they constructed a memorial of 12 stones so that in the future, when people passed by it, they would ask questions. What do these stones mean? And then someone who had experience with that, or let's say was a son or a grandson, and the lineage goes on, they could recount the story of what God had done for them. And for us, we have lots of stories to tell in our lives for what God has done for us. If I think about the Mexico trip in specific, for those of you that have gone, the Lord has worked in our hearts in many ways during this time and the opportunities we've had to be there. And these are stories that we can recount to other people. And my room, I'm here in my room today at school, is just filled with, you guys know, it's just filled with just a bunch of random stuff in a lot of cases, but in many of these cases, it has specific meaning for me. The things I choose to display in my room are memories that I have from the Mexico trip, if the things have to do with Mexico, or the things I have from Honduras have to do with the times I've served in Honduras or when I was in Argentina, whatever it may be. And these are objects I can look at and then do these three things. I can thank God, or I can think, first of all, how that whole situation went and remember the fun times I had. Secondly, I can thank God for those opportunities that he gave me. And then lastly, I can tell others about these opportunities, and so that they can be encouraged as well. And I just have a couple of objects here I'll show you. This first one is, I don't know if you can read it very well, but it says León in Michigan. And my first mission trip was to Mexico in 2009. That was the only year we went to León. And I look back at pictures and even this mug, and I can remember just how my life was transformed on that first mission trip that I took, and I can really thank God for it. The shirt I'm wearing here, now maybe Alicia, I can't quite remember if she was on this trip where we got these. Those of you for this year's trip wouldn't have been yet, but this is from 2015. It was a gift that they gave us for our service there, and I still have it. I still like to wear it on certain occasions, and it brings back just these great memories of the trip. Lastly, at least for now, another one that I have would have to do with you seniors. And I know a lot of you have this right here, this dog chain, I guess you could call it. And it has a verse on it, and it was from 1 Peter 2:21. And the theme of the youth event that day was Siguiendo tus pasadas, or pisadas. And Siguiendo tus pisadas means following your steps. And a lot of you remember that day with the youth that we shared together at Bill and Lydia's ministry complex. And it was just a really fun day. And there are things that we've taken from the past that we can look at now and remember. We can thank God for it, and we can tell others of the mighty things that he's done. And although this trip might be a kind of, we can view it as a disappointment, we can also view it as perhaps a potential opportunity in the future. Why do we view it maybe as a disappointment? Well, you might be thinking, we couldn't go this year. And for you seniors, oh man, this was my senior year, and I was really looking forward to this trip. I really wanted to go back to Mexico and to serve and to see all my friends that I've made down there over the past few years. And if we're not careful, thinking that just the negativity towards this can really get us down. But if we think about it as an opportunity, perhaps we can view it as, well, we still don't know. God perhaps can make this trip happen still in the future. It might look different, or it might be different than we had first envisioned it, but God knows what is best. And we can also view it as an opportunity for growth. Like I mentioned before, taking the previous trips that we've done, thinking about it, praying and thanking God for it, and then recounting to others, we can be an encouragement to other people. The things that we've learned on this trip are something that we can take with us in our lives, in our daily lives, that we can use right here and right now. And so I just wanted to encourage you guys with that today. I know it's a tough day for a lot of us. I mean, even for me, this will be like the first time, I think, since 2013, since I have not been leaving for Mexico during this I-term and spring break. And so it's definitely, it feels weird. But I wanted to just share one more thing with you, and this is just a little bit of an update part. And if I go through the process myself of thinking and thanking and then telling, even though things have been changed in so many ways these last couple of weeks, God's hand has still really been on this trip. And I'll share with just one story with you. I won't give you all the details because it would be very long. But one of the things that I'd been praying about for this situation was our airline tickets. We had 21 tickets to go to Mexico, and we were supposed to obviously leave today. With airline contracts, especially with group contracts, it gets pretty tough to change things without there being some kind of outrageous fee or just the impossibility of doing that. And ever since the very beginning, when I found out we weren't going to be able to go, I'd been in contact with the airlines trying to potentially get a refund for everything that was happening. And every time I called, I got the same answer. No, we can't give you a refund. We're sorry. Unless your flight gets canceled, we would cancel it. You cannot get a refund. We can give you a voucher for the future, but that voucher was just very difficult, and it wasn't very broad, and it just wasn't a great option for our team. And so I'd become frustrated, a little bit angry with the airlines, thinking, due to these circumstances, how could you not show a little bit of compassion? And that frustration built up Friday when, at that point, they still were not going to do anything for us, potentially losing all of the money that we had paid for these airline tickets to not even go. And in that moment, I started to think, and I started to thank God for the opportunities that He'd given us in the future. And I told the Lord, the battle is in your hands, and you're going to be the one that has to fight. I cannot, on my own power, fight this and win, but you can. And so in that moment, I felt a little bit better. I had more peace, and I just handed it over to the Lord. And not even 24 hours later, the Lord answered that prayer. And it was like 5:30 Saturday evening. I was holding out to the very last minute I could to cancel. I hadn't canceled our reservation yet. I wasn't going to cancel it until basically before we started to fly this morning, to give the last second opportunity that the airlines might cancel the flight. And on 5:30 Saturday or so, I got a notification from them saying that the flight segment from Grand Rapids to Dallas had been canceled. And so I immediately called, and I had prayed before too on Friday that, if it was God's will, I could find some favor with someone in the airlines. Most of the people I'd talked to were pretty, I wouldn't say mean, but very unwilling to help in the situation. And usually too, when I would make airline calls, with so many people calling these days, it would take, sometimes over an hour to talk to somebody. And so I'd just put my phone on speaker and just do something else. Well, when I called Saturday, very first ring, someone answered. The nicest person I've ever dealt with on the airlines, able to get all of our tickets canceled. There was a process I had to go through to get a refund, but in short, I'm going to be able to get a refund for these tickets so that we can use the money, hopefully, for a future trip, if it be the Lord's will. And also, turned out she was a believer. And we spent even 15 minutes just talking about the whole coronavirus and how it's affecting things and what is God trying to teach us in all of that. And it ended up just being the biggest blessing ever. And so even in the midst of difficulties, disappointments with the trip, I still really strongly feel God's hand upon it, even though right now it's not looking how we had envisioned it. And it's just really cool to see how God is continuing to work. I've been in contact with Bill and Lydia even yesterday, and I had a 2-hour conversation a couple of days ago with Ricky, and I've been in touch with a couple other friends down there, and they all miss us, and they send their greetings, and are praying that hopefully, if it's God's will, that we could come down soon. Continue to pray for Mexico too. Although there is not a ton of confirmed cases of coronavirus there yet, it is, as of yesterday, it was 800 and some cases. And so we got to pray that that doesn't explode in Mexico like it has here. And yeah, I just wanted to give you guys an update. There's still a lot of question marks regarding the trip for the future, but I'm going to continue to work on possibilities to see if this could still work for us. I really would love to go down with you guys at any way possible. And so I'm keeping all options open still, and let the Lord pave the way and lead. I'm going to try to keep you updated too as I find out things. Some of you may be wondering about refund or that kind of thing for the trip. Just know that it's going to take at least a few weeks for me to get money back from the airlines, and then I'm in partnership too with WGM to get funds back that we had given them too. And so I'll give you more information regarding all that when I have a better idea, but just be rest assured that thanks be to the Lord, no money has been lost. And so he's even guarding those types of things for us, and I'm really hoping to use that what you guys have earned and what you guys have raised for support for ministry and for the future. And so I'll keep you posted with that. And I'll also be just sharing a couple things on our Vamos page in the next couple of days, so look out for that. I hope to have a little bit of a surprise for you sometime this week, if not this week, next week, that hopefully will be an encouragement for you as well. And I'll share that on the Vamos page. And then I'll also put some links on to some of our previous videos that we've made from these trips, where you can look back, reflect, and really just thank God for the opportunities he's given you, and use that as a tool for you to pray for the people in Mexico. So I hope you are all doing well. I miss you guys. I really miss seeing you guys every day. You guys raiding my room at lunch and practicing for the ministries, and I just really miss that. And so I'm hoping to be able to see you all soon. Take care, and God bless, and have a wonderful day.